Yeah, so we've pulled together quite a few different examples here. We kind of take a high-level view, and then we also look at the behaviors that we can glean from some of those buyer metrics that we are able to deliver. So this one starts out with a very high-level Hitwise view, where we're looking at, visits to two competitors in the home hardware space. We looked at Home Depot and we looked at Lowe's. And we can see between the two kind of leaders in the category that Home Depot generally has about 60% of the visits, and Lowe's has about 40% of the visits. And we're looking at that over about 4-week periods here. So we can see that's fairly consistent. Home Depot is consistently taking about 60% of the visit share of the market. And if you're Lowe's, or if you're another person monitoring the space, you may think that Home Depot actually has about 60% of the business as well, and that's something that we can show is actually not the case, because when we look at the percentage of people who are making purchases on Home Depot, again arriving at those thank you confirmation pages on either Home Depot or Lowe's, Home Depot actually has a much larger share. They've gone up to 70% of the purchases between those two sites, and Lowe's has dropped down to 30%. And furthermore, I know that we were looking at this, and it's probably not very evident because it's a fairly slow growth. But between the first month, which we started over here in July, and the last month period ending in October, Home Depot has actually gained about a point per month moving forward. So, Lowe's is actually moving in the wrong direction. They're actually losing share, and Home Depot is gobbling up a little bit more each month as kind of time goes on. So this is a way to really see, what percentage of the actual business and purchases, because at the end of the day, that's really generally what matters most, what people are trying to get at, but also a way to kind of track that from a competitive standpoint over time to see, how are we performing, how am I doing relative to my competition here. We can also, knowing the purchase information, we can apply all the other standard Hitwise metrics to it. So we allow our customers to break out the data across devices, and we can look at the conversion rates across desktop and mobile devices for both of the sites. And so we can see, obviously Home Depot's conversion rate overall is much better. It's at about 1.1% or so versus Lowe's, which has about 0.6%. So, Home Depot's conversion rate is about, 50% better than Lowe's. But then we look at the desktop performance here, and Home Depot is even better on desktop, whereas on mobile, both sites, do struggle a little bit, but that's normal for, mobile devices don't generally convert at the same rate, but we can at least compare them to their competitors. And this is why probably Home Depot is doing so much better in terms of the transactions, because their conversion rates across devices are so much better.
Yeah, Sean, I think it's, obviously the reason we see the delta in the visits versus the conversions is absolutely the conversion rate. Having worked in e-commerce for over 10 years, there's a lot of things that could drive that. You think of site design or even your site load speed, there could be fundamental differences between those. Category mix could be, a big different reason. So as I look at, Lowe's may look at it and say like, wow, I'm way behind. I think the logical question would be like, why? Maybe it's that Home Depot's figured out how to better produce search results and leverage personalization. They may have different like online to in-store pickup strategies, which I think a lot of clicks to bricks are becoming more popular. And so there's a lot of different things that are out there. And I think you're probably going to highlight a few of those. But I would say Lowe's would probably be looking at saying, why? Like, why is that conversion rate so different?
So the other thing that we looked at here, and this was really interesting, and it's something that we kind of get asked from our clients a lot, we can create audiences through our Audience View platform, which is pretty unique, and where we can take those checkout points and use them in ways to build an audience. So in this instance, what I did is I went into the platform and I said, well, tell me people who have visited Lowe's.com but have not made a purchase on Lowe's.com last week. And then overlap that with people who've made a purchase on HomeDepot.com. So last week, Lowe's had 90,000 visitors these are unique individuals, not just visits, but 90,000 people who visited their site and then went to make a purchase on HomeDepot.com instead. That's a lot of people that they lost to Home Depot. And, if we said that that's, $150 transaction on average online, that's about $13 to $14 million that Lowe's lost to Home Depot last week. If you can flip it around too, and we can create that same audience for Home Depot. Tell me people who have visited HomeDepot.com but who have not made a purchase, and then went on to make a purchase on Lowe's instead. So from Home Depot lost about 55,000 people who went ahead and made a purchase on Lowe's instead of Home Depot last week. So that amount is not, Home Depot would like to get that number down as low as possible, but it's not. They're still coming out about 40,000 visitors ahead who made a purchase on Home Depot as opposed to Lowe's, and trying to figure out, why did I lose those 55,000 people? Where else did those people spend time searching online? What products were they viewing? What were they searching for? Maybe it's things that I don't carry currently, and I can start to merchandise those things. Are they looking for sales? Are they looking for something else unique that I just don't deliver on, that Lowe's does a better job? And that can help you really to kind of improve your overall purchase numbers.